This woman tried to celebrate way too early and totally embarrassed herself on live TV. But that's nothing compared to this guy. He started waving to the crowd like he'd already won, except there was still one lap left. That's what happens when athletes party before the job's actually done. Let's start with this runner who already had his arms wide open, ready for that perfect victory shot. But check out what went down in the very last second. What a blunder. But the real kicker was what this woman did. The race wasn't even over yet, and she was already celebrating, thinking she had that bronze medal in the bag. But unlucky for her, this is what went down. And then there's this guy who became one of the biggest jokes in the US after pulling off a totally boneheaded move. That day, Braden had just picked off a pass and, after running 70 yards, was all set to score the most beautiful touchdown of his career. At least that's what we thought, because look what happened next. But the most embarrassing moment has to be what happened to this MotoGP rider. He got so hyped about his win that he started waving to the crowd to celebrate. The problem, he kind of forgot one small detail. There was still one lap left. And this runner messed up so bad, even he couldn't believe it. Right as he was about to cross the finish line, he got a little too confident and thought it'd be cool to wave at the crowd. But that turned out to be a huge mistake. Check out what happened.
You can, and you see his face, and no one has to say anything. They don't have to explain it to him. He'll never make that mistake again.
This athlete did something even worse and ended up leaving the stadium in tears. She was literally just steps away from the finish line when her victory got snatched away in the most unbelievable way. Just like this cyclist who blew one of the biggest races of his career over a silly mistake. On the final lap, after pulling off an incredible overtake, he got way too full of himself, so much so that he went and did this. But it was such a massive mistake that even he couldn't believe what happened next.
Cycling. Well, what on earth was he doing there? They're all friends now, but Mold's...
And this other guy managed to do something even worse. After glancing back and seeing his opponents way behind, he thought the win was in the bag and even threw his hand up to celebrate. But it didn't take long for him to regret that move. Now check out this goalkeeper. The guy got so hyped after saving a penalty that he didn't even think twice before celebrating. But sadly, his joy didn't last long. The funniest part is the crowd joined in on the celebration too. Too bad it just wasn't meant to be this time. But it's not just in soccer that this happens. Just take a look at what this basketball player did. He tried to clown his opponents with this little dance, but in the end, he's the one who got clowned. But if there's one guy who knows exactly what it's like to go through this, it's him. He thought the win was gonna be easy, but when he got overtaken, he was left completely stunned. Something similar happened to this cyclist who came so close to finishing first. But just a few meters from the win, she decided to pull this move. What a blunder. And in this other case, it was a whole team that messed up. The red team thought there was no way their rivals could reach that ball and were already celebrating the win. But unlucky for them, not only did the other team catch it, they went on to do this. And to make it worse, one of them even had the nerve to argue with the ref afterward, like that was gonna change anything. And then there's this player who blew the chance to score a beautiful touchdown, all because he wanted to show off at the worst possible moment. Judging by how mad he was afterward, you can bet he regretted that mistake big time. But few celebrations were as humiliating as this one. With just 0.6 seconds left on the clock, the team in white scored what everyone thought was the game winner. What they didn't expect was that the moment the whistle blew, this would happen instead. And speaking of goalkeepers embarrassing themselves, check out what this one did. He thought the ball had gone out and just stood there, but of course the striker wasn't gonna miss the chance to score. And this guy ended up paying a heavy price for celebrating too soon. Just take a look. Right in the middle of the fight, he decided to throw in a little dance just to humiliate his opponent. What he didn't see coming was that he'd get knocked out almost instantly. Now check out this guy who basically handed the win to his opponent on a silver platter and had no idea what just happened. The worst part is he even looked back and still kept fooling around. But in this other case, it was a motocross rider who literally hit the dirt, face first. He decided to throw a punch in the air to celebrate, but ended up crashing hard and tossing his victory straight in the trash. This guy is by far one of the unluckiest on this list. Less than 2 meters from the finish line, he decided to do a little jump to celebrate. What he didn't expect was that it would completely ruin his race. But it's not just the adults who know how to embarrass themselves in sports. On this day, a kid's basketball game ended in the most unbelievable way. With only 2 seconds left, the boy scored the most beautiful basket of his life. Unreal. Now check out this player who went crazy after scoring a goal. The guy even took his shirt off to celebrate. There was just one small problem. It wasn't a goal, and this guy was just about to break a world record. And the worst part is, he did everything right. Well, except for this one little thing. And in this volleyball match, the mistake was even bigger. The game was super tight when the team in white pulled this move and immediately started celebrating. The problem was, the ball never actually hit the ground, so just a few seconds later, this happened. And in this basketball game, the ending was even more unbelievable. With just 1 second left, it looked like the whole team had already accepted the loss and let the rivals celebrate. Everyone, except for this guy right here. This kid ruined his team's victory in the most unbelievable way. After the ball hit the post, the whole team ran off to celebrate and the goalkeeper thought it was over. What he didn't see coming was this. And in this other case, the blunder happened during a tennis match after a super intense rally. One amazing play after another, but after this shot, things went downhill fast. But let's be real, some plays really do deserve next level celebrations. Like this shot at the very end of the game, the one that could have won it all. Too bad, he missed. Same goes for this one. What this guy did was absolutely insane. He ran the entire field, leaving every opponent in the dust, and was just about to score one of the most beautiful touchdowns of his career. Well, it would have been the most beautiful if he hadn't done this. And this basketball team decided to wait until the very last second to humiliate their opponents for celebrating too soon. Check out what they pulled off. This fighter embarrassed himself by doing something completely dumb. The result of the fight was going to be decided by points, and he was clearly way too confident he had it in the bag. But that's not how it turned out. Just look at his face when he found out he lost. Now check out this women's volleyball match. The play was so chaotic that not even the players knew what was going on. Luckily, player number 15 came to the rescue and saved the rally. In this other match, something similar happened. But the funniest part was the girls' reaction when they realized they hadn't actually won. That's what happens when you celebrate too early, and they weren't the only ones. This other team did even worse, and ended up embarrassing themselves big time. On this day, it was this fighter's turn to get humbled for being way too full of himself. Both were waiting for the judge's decision to see who won, and judging by the cocky attitude of the guy on the right, he was absolutely sure it was his victory. Now check out the look on his face when he found out he was completely wrong. And in this other case, it was a professional pool player who celebrated way too soon. Take a look at what happened. This team got scored on for celebrating at the wrong time. They were so hyped about their goal that even the goalkeeper ran off to celebrate, but they took way too long to get back in position and ended up paying the price. And speaking of huge slip-ups, this MotoGP rider thought it'd be a great idea to throw both hands up in the air to celebrate the win. But before he could even bring his arms back down, he was already completely humiliated. But when it comes to humiliation, this fighter takes the crown. Even before the result was announced, he was already dancing and thanking the fans. The referee even tried to call him over to put an end to the cringe, but there was no stopping it. And then there's this cyclist who decided to throw his arms up to celebrate, even with his opponents right next to him. There was no way that was gonna end well. Or this rider who got so caught up in celebrating that he barely noticed when he got overtaken. Just imagine the look on his face. What a blunder.
Well, either we're miscalculated or he has.
But no team messed up as badly as this futsal squad. Scoring wasn't enough for the guy. He just had to show off and rub it in to prove who's boss. This is the craziest goal you'll see today. After that penalty kick, everyone thought the match was over, so much so that the goalkeeper ran off celebrating. But fate had other plans. Just like this penalty that fooled everyone. Imagine how mad that goalkeeper's team must have been after losing the match because of that blunder. And in this other case, the problem wasn't the celebration, it was just ridiculously bad luck. Look how that turned out. This player went wild celebrating his basket. The problem was, while he was yelling into the camera, this was happening. Just by watching this celebration, you can tell the play was incredible. Well, at least partly, because even though he had the chance to pull off the play of the year for his team, he ended up doing this instead.
Take a peek here. Watches very closely. He has secured the football. Wasn't a backward pass and the ball dead there.
In this game, you're about to see the ultimate way to humiliate a basketball team. They managed to turn the game around literally at the buzzer, plus with an incredible shot.
And the play continues. Peterson got it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Is it good if it goes? We got to check it out. If it's good.